Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of the Survival Project. Today I'm joined by a milestone guest, first ever international guest. I have a gentleman from Canada, Alex MacInnis, and Alex is going to come on and tell us about his story of living with Crohn's disease and now living with an ostomy. Alex advocates online through his blog Tales from the Bag and is also quite an inspirational character for me. I came across his page recently and Alex has completed an ultramarathon, which is something that I don't know if anyone with an ostomy has done before. So I can't wait to hear Alex's story. So I'm going to pass you over to Alex. And Alex, if you'd just like to tell us a little bit about your story from diagnosis to now.
Hey, thanks for having me on, first of all. Pretty excited to share my story with you guys. But yeah, so I was diagnosed with Crohn's when I was about 12 years old, and I've been living quite sick for a number of years and not really sure what was going on. Just the classic Crohn's disease story of just painful visits to the bathroom, too many, somehow not enough, all all wrapped up into one. Eventually, the doctors figured it out after a couple of, luckily, smaller procedures, not major surgeries back then, but was definitely in and out of the doctor's office quite a bit from a young age. Which, I mean, going through puberty and dealing with like a bowel disease is pretty embarrassing. You went through, I'm sure, and many others. It's not the most fun time to deal with an extra bit uh, going on. But eventually got things under control with medication, got through high school, got through college. And then soon after college, my first year, so I'd moved from Ontario, which is the east side of Canada, central, moved out west to BC for the first time, spent a winter out here teaching skiing and snowboarding. And then that summer, while I was living out west, I got severely ill, pretty much couldn't leave my room. I flew home for a family vacation and my parents took one look at me and like, you're not going back out west. So I lived at home, going back into the doctors, trying to figure out what was going on. Luckily, got on a drug called Remicade, which really worked for me. I was pretty much from the time I got on Remicade, I gained like 40 pounds in a month and got my health back on track. And Remicade worked for about 10 years. And then through some overconfidence in my early 30s and miscommunication with my medical team, I got off Remicade and then got sick again. And by the time I got back on it, I had developed an immunity to the drug. So fast forward to in and out of hospital, trying every other immunosuppressant drug that was available. Nothing worked, unfortunately. And in this stint, like between in my early 30s, I was again in and out of hospital. I was down to 130 pounds. Longest stint in the hospital was 2 months straight. Luckily, in Vancouver, I had a beautiful room overlooking the North Shore Mountains, but I was not on the mountains playing, which is where I wanted to be. For a long time, I thought if I had to get an ostomy, I had failed because I thought I could get my health back in order on my own. I could do it with drugs, I could do it with diet, I could do it with exercise. But I was so sick I couldn't exercise. I was so sick I couldn't make food for myself, and it just turns out that the ostomy was the clear path forward. It took me a while to come to that decision, but once I did, there was no looking back.
It's so hard because obviously you're a very active guy. You were living a very active life, and to have that stolen from you by your health is so hard. And obviously to have gotten such a good period of health, and then for it to be unfortunate miscommunication of some kind that you came off the drug, and then to go back on and realize you built up an immunity, like that is just heartbreaking stuff. To go from control to losing it again.
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, that was, at least 50% on me. I was like, oh, I've been Crohn's disease free for 10 years. Clearly, I'm healed. Do I even need these drugs? So it wasn't, I can't even be like, oh, my medical team failed me. No, like you're your own advocate. And unfortunately, I was a cocky bastard.
I hear you. It's so easy to happen because we can get into a false sense of security, obviously, which is something that you don't really think about, and then to think, I suppose the nature of Crohn's, it's such a beast. It can come back, and there's no, and you're fighting the fight again. What medications did you try after that? After you tried Remicade again?
So I jumped on Humira. That one worked mildly okay for a couple of months. I think there's one called Entyvio or something like that. It's similar to Remicade, but again, it was I think too similar, and that didn't work at all for me. And then Stelara, I tried in the end. It was just kind of getting approved for Crohn's at the time. I'm not sure. I've heard some people have great success with it, but unfortunately, I think my body was just, nah, you're done with immunosuppressants. They're all too similar for me anyway. So
I had a similar experience with Stelara. Stelara was working for me, and then suddenly I just started getting sick again, and I was taking the same dosage, nothing had changed, and then it just stopped working, unfortunately, which is just, it seems to be a common thing where it's nearly like the body adapts, or Crohn's adapts to it and says, nah, I found a way around this. You're going to have to try and fight me some other way. Just an unfortunate part of the disease. After what was the turning point for your surgery? Was it just that you tried all the medication and you felt there was no other option?
yeah, I was pretty depressed. I was pretty sick, and like at this stage, like I wasn't even going to visit and hang out with my friends because it hurt me too much to see, like they're all doing all the things that I love to do. I didn't want to be a burden on them either. So it's kind of like that sad, like classic sick, lonely, and you don't want to bring down anybody else, so you kind of isolate yourself more and more. And I was like, this is not who I am. It's not who I want to be. And the doctors had really positive messaging on the ostomies, and I was like, okay, well, why not? Like, if even if it's different, I have to try it because what I'm doing right now isn't working. And all I want to do is like at the time was like I just want to get back in the mountains. I just want to get back on the water. Like love being outdoors, love being active. And for me at the time, like if I stood up, I would shit myself. It wasn't even like a bowel movement, it was just falling out of me. I got like a minute that I can make it from where I am to a bathroom, so why bother leaving the house?
I was at exactly the same point when my ostomy came along, and like you said yourself, it nearly felt like a failure getting the ostomy. Like I thought I could fight it. I won't let this happen. I myself thought getting an ostomy would be the end of my life, and it was. It was the end of that chapter of, like, you were just isolated, self-isolated, missing out on all the things that you should be doing as a young man, going out with your friends, socializing, getting up in the mountains and skiing. But it's the key in the door to get you out the door. The ostomy. It That's definitely a message to deliver home to anyone who's kind of in that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because after I got my ostomy, like I was like my health turned around pretty quick. It was like just the recovery from the surgery, which is obviously pretty major. They open up your abdomen and pull out a bunch of things. So the recovery from that, I mean, it obviously, I think we talked earlier, it's not option number one. If you are able to live like a healthy version of a life, then by all means, like that's amazing. But the recovery from surgery is a lot. Once I was past the recovery, like I was oversharing. All my friends are like sick of like, oh, Alex and his ostomy telling strangers that he poops in a bag. Like, so my first couple years, I uh, definitely overshared, which was kind of fun. But it's just the pure excitement from getting back and being able to be social and to drop of a hat, like, oh, I got a call, we're gonna go swimming, we're gonna go do this, go hang out on the patio for a couple of beers, like just whatever it was. Like I'm just like thriving on it and just excited to go and be back in that friend group again, and but part of everybody's life.
Amazing. And like, it just to get back, meeting your friends and being active and enjoying life as you're supposed to is amazing. I suppose my next question for you will be, you're a very active guy, and sometimes post surgery it can be very daunting to get back active, exercise. How did you manage the adaptation, and what kind of plans did you put in place to get yourself back active?
Because I had kind of made the decision and it was like very logical and clear, I'm doing this surgery to get back here. Like I literally, like I kiteboard, and I brought my kiteboarding harness to the hospital so the ostomy nurse could cite my stoma location based on like where my kiteboarding harness sort of sits on my body. Pre-ostomy, I was still 130 pounds and I was dying, and I was like, this is the goal and there's nothing stopping me. So I found there was a physio that lives and works in Vancouver here that specialized in ostomy recoveries. So right from the get-go, I was seeing her building up that core strength again, because obviously, having I got laparoscopic surgery, luckily, but even, those small little incisions, you have to heal that abdominal wall as solidly as possible. And there's the micro muscles I didn't even know that we use. So posture, like the weird little exercises she had me doing to build these muscles that I've been wiped off the earth because I just basically sat in a chair for the better part of 4 years. Basically rebuilt me from the ground up. But yeah, I definitely worked with a physio to help build that strength back so that when I did resume activity, I didn't, there's always a risk of getting a hernia, all the injuries around uh, the stoma area is a little bit weaker because you have now a hole in your abdominal wall.
Yeah, you really took executive action, bringing the kite harness with you. Like that's what you call taking things into your own hands. Uh, and then for after the initial surgery, how long was your recovery before you actually kind of got back out into the world?
I mean, I was pretty quick to socialize again, so I would use walks up and down the street, go for coffees with friends, that kind of thing, pretty quickly. And despite my physio's best efforts, I was back on a snowboard probably within 2 months. A little too early, but I mean, I was so excited I had to. Like, I mean, I wasn't pushing it in any way. I was very cautious, but I had to get back into the mountains and I had to do that. So yeah, I was pretty active pretty quick. Snowboarding was just the fuel that fire. I just had to get back on that board.
It's amazing. I think that's once you have a goal post surgery and something to reach and strive for, it's great motivation to get back out there. Obviously, I imagine snowboarding. I've only ever skied in my life, but snowboarding must be quite tough on the core muscles. Those first initial few sessions, did you find them quite hard, or did you incorporate any specific abdominal exercises to build up your core for snowboarding?
I didn't have anything specific for snowboarding. I was more concerned about kiteboarding because that one, like, you're literally harnessed to like it's all ab strength, kiteboarding with a waist harness. And so snowboarding, I wasn't even really that worried about. Like, it's kind of second nature to me. I've been snowboarding for so long. I was mostly worried about just the stamina to be able to get back into it. So my first couple, was on local mountains here, which are pretty small for BC standards. Just go for a couple hours and have fun and get back into it. But yeah, the main worry for me was kiteboarding because I like that's like a huge hernia risk because you'll literally jump into the air and be dragged by your abs by a huge kite in the air. You should check it out. It's super fun.
Thrilling, yeah. And have you suffered with any hernias?
Luckily, no. Knock on wood. I've been, for the most part, pretty good about keeping the core strong. Training for dumb things like ultramarathons has helped. So yeah, no, it's as long as I continue to be active. Like since the ultra this year, I kind of like I put so much time and energy into it that I like fell off a cliff post ultra. So I got to get back into some exercise and recovery there. Yeah, as long as you kind of upkeep with core strength and obviously not like sit ups, that kind of thing. Those are detrimental to the strength. Yeah, sit ups and planks are usually a no go with an ostomy. All these weird, I don't know how to describe the workouts to build those muscles up. They're just very subtle and unique. You feel like sometimes you're just laying on your back when you're just like moving your lower back up and down. And so you don't feel like you're doing anything, but you're like working these little muscles.
You're really working on the interior and quite gently. Great advice. I have to ask you, the ultramarathon, where did the inspiration to go and put yourself through that come from?
That's sort of a weird winding story. So I never pictured myself a runner ever. Like in my 20s, I didn't even like hiking. Like I, 0% of me wanted to run. And in the kiteboarding side of things, I had a friend that was into ultra marathons and she's super athletic. I actually ran into her. I don't know how many months pregnant she was, but I like on the start line of day two. So she was just doing the 50-kilometer and she was pregnant. And I was like, I haven't seen you in forever. Now you're doing this 50K run pregnant? Like, what's going on? But she inspired me to get into ultras. But the reason I started running is a friend of mine basically saw a photo of himself at New Year's and was like, "Ooh, I got to get back in shape." So we kind of started running together. We were struggling to do 3K together. Eventually, 3K became 5K, and we were pretty confident there. And he's more of a short track sprinter, and I'm not fast. So we we still run together sometimes, but he's like 5 to 8K max, and I'm just long and slow.
Built for endurance, I hear you.
Yeah. The years of Crohn's developed a strong sense of being able to suffer.
There's actually a study, and I'm absolutely gonna butcher it, but there's a study that shows that people who suffer with chronic illness tend to move into endurance sports. I'll have to pull it up and talk about it at some stage because I'm only hinting at it here. But I think definitely living with chronic disease throughout your life definitely builds you up to endure and have that really really strong mental strength. Now I'm going to definitely come back to the ultra, but I just want to talk to you about how you built that mental strength through the whole journey. You were very sick, you were very isolated. I know definitely getting back in the mountains was good for the head, but did you seek help for your mental health?
I didn't. I probably should have. Um, Classic, 35, 40-year-old man, like, nah, my mental health is good once I'm back, doing stuff. So I still sometimes think that I probably should just kind of see somebody. I haven't found the right therapist style. So I do want to seek like somebody that works with like athletes in the outdoor space, not necessarily as like a sports psychologist, but somebody that kind of has that background and can at least relate in that way. I haven't done enough searching for that person, but it is something that's been on my radar to search for.
Yeah, I hear you. You have to find someone who fits your situation and can have a real understanding of you as a person. So yeah, that's definitely something. I know myself. I've gone and seeked help for my mental, and it was excellent. So yeah, but no, you're dead right. You have to wait and find the right person because you don't want to go talking to someone who's not getting what you're saying and further frustrating you. So no, you're dead right to wait until the right person comes along. Um, I definitely have to jump back into the ultra because I'm fascinated by it. You did the Squamish this year? Was it? Did you do it last year as well? Yeah.
I tried to do the Squamish last year. So the Squamish 50, there's technically four options, but in the ultra side of things, so anything longer than a marathon, there's a 50 mile, which is on day one, which 80 kilometers for those of us that aren't Americans. Uh, and then day two, there's a 50-kilometer trail race, and then you can sign up for both if you're extremely stubborn and for some reason really want to suffer. Most of the time, the race organizers suggest you try one or the other and then build up to doing both. I was like, I'm pretty good at suffering. I'm just going to sign up for both blindly. And so last year I didn't train nearly enough. My nutrition was super off, and I hit a wall at the 35-kilometer mark last year out of 80 and dragged myself kicking and screaming until like I was like 10:30 at night. The race started at 5 a.m. So now it's 10:30 at night. I'm about 3 kilometers from the finish and my body was just shutting down. I was hallucinating in the woods. I'm coming down this hill that's literally a mountain bike trail, so like super steep, middle of like super dark. I don't know what's going on. I passed a guy that was puking up blood, and I get to the set of stairs and my I just break down crying, and I called a friend. I was like, I cannot get to the finish line. You have to come get me. I wouldn't have made the finish time, I don't think, on that day. I thought I was half an hour over. That was part of the hallucination. Like I still apparently had a bit of time left on the race, but I thought I was overtime. So there was, unfortunately for me, I do wish I had kept running, but I don't think I could have.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Like the fact that you said you went from 35 and still kept going, like that's some achievement. Like wow, so to keep pushing, but then also to listen to your body and say, right, I've had enough. Let's come back and tackle this again, rather than doing some permanent damage.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that
How,
was, I mean, I learned so much with the first attempt though. Like I learned, I'm gonna have to train a hell of a lot harder. So basically from January of this year until the run in August, I was in the gym twice a week. I was running 5 to 6 times a week, doing some pretty, like definitely built up the mileage and trained my body to run tired, essentially, was the how I would describe it, so that I could get through day one and then come back and do day two. Because I knew I could finish day one. I knew I could do that. Day two was the big mystery. And can I get myself to wake up, put shoes back on my feet, and go out and It's the same course. It's just they take out all the flat parts for the 50 kilometer. So I knew what I was getting into. Like I knew. I love the ultra and I love this ultra because like to me it paralleled a lot of like you're fighting for your health, you're fighting, for your life really with Crohn's disease and sometimes you're suffering alone in the woods and there's nobody around and you're just grinding up this mountain and sometimes you're coming into an aid station and you got your friends and your family and your support team to like lift you back up. I find ultras do remind me a lot of living with Crohn's disease and with an ostomy, just for those ups and downs of the journey, for sure.
Definitely feels very symbolic. The ups, the downs, the support from family, the isolation. Like it definitely shows a lot from the journey of living with chronic illness. How did you prepare for the ultramarathon? Like, what was your training block like?
It definitely got interrupted a lot. I, despite the fact that I love being active, do have a lazy streak in me. So like I can just be like, I am so tired. I'm just gonna sit on the couch and play video games. Generally speaking though, like on a good week, I'm like as I was building up, Monday would be my rest day. Tuesday I'd hit the gym in the morning and then in the evening go for a short run, 5 to 10K depending. I did hill training. It's basically sprint up a hill, recover down, sprint up a hill, recover down. Days gym and depended it was like a semi-long run or kind of 8 to 10K, and then the deeper in, closer to the run I was getting, the longer those Thursdays and Tuesdays runs were getting. Friday would be like a short shakeout run, 3 to 5K slow, and then Saturday, Sunday would be long runs back to back. So early on, those runs would be like 15 to 20K. And then as I got deeper into the training, each of those runs were minimum 20K, 20 to 40K on the weekends each day. Yeah.
How many miles, kilometers were you doing in a week, roughly?
I think my biggest week, what would I have hit? It was getting close to 100 per week. Yeah, on average.
That's time consuming.
It's a lot of time. My partner Jess was super patient with me and um, helped with meals and food prep and stuff like that. And definitely a lot of time spent in shoes.
You got a great partner there supporting you through it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, she's awesome.
But when it comes to fueling, do you go down the route with gels? I know like a lot of people will say that gels and stuff aren't good if you have a bit of a dodgy tummy anyway. I've done a lot of research to gels myself. Is there any that you recommend or do you use them?
I predominantly fueled with gels this year. Used there's a brand out of Quebec, Canada called Chrono. I found those really jived with my stomach pretty well. And then there's another brand. I think they're Canadian, but they might not be. There's NAAK, so NAAK, and both of those brands did really well with me. And then from there, like if I couldn't do a gel on the second day, I got to one of the aid stations. I grabbed a bottle of honey and I just straight into my mouth with the honey. I was like, honey is honestly such a good quick energy source and all natural. And then from like fuel side, it was just like, get as much carbs in as you can per. I worked with a dietitian, and so she had a good plan, which I listened to somewhat. I definitely got off plan at times, but worked with her, and then she helped me also with my sodium intake for fueling, like also hydration. So making sure I was getting enough electrolytes and sodium specifically.
Hydration is definitely a problem for me. I find I get very dehydrated running. Do you find dehydration is an issue for you or have you kind of got it locked down?
It's a constant struggle. I usually do really good with fluid intake. Like between the 2 days, I drank 18 liters of fluids. So between electrolytes and just straight water. So I did pretty okay with fluid intake on the run. And then everyday life, I'm usually pretty good. I've got a liter bottle that I'll bring to work with me, and I'll usually have two of those at work. My base is 2 liters of water a day. And if I'm active, like on my training blocks, there's days where I was drinking 4 to 5 liters of water in a day. And like and electrolytes, not just straight water, because that's a big thing. Is you can't like if you're just having water, especially with an ostomy or an ileostomy, because my whole large is gone. you do need to supplement that because you're not absorbing as much as you should be.
Yeah, and definitely you seem consistent and quite disciplined with it. And I suppose that definitely helps with the long term hydration as well. When it comes to the day of the ultra, an ultra marathon is obviously very taxing on the body. Do you wear hernia supports? Is there any specific equipment that you would wear around your stoma?
No, I tried a couple things early on, but I found it was way better to run just simpler the better for me. So my running shorts had like an elastic drawstring, so I just over tightened that a little bit. So I still had the flexibility and movement, but it kind of held the bag secure. So I put the bag between the shorts and my underwear, and it held it pretty securely, which was awesome. And then my running vest, which had all the snacks and fluids and hydration that I could use.
Yeah, it sounds like you're absolutely well prepared and locked in. And is there any more plans for any more ultras down the line?
My family definitely doesn't want me to do this particular one, so I'm brainstorming some other difficult ones I could do. There's a few options. Ostomy Canada definitely wants me to do more because with their help, so I did the run as like a fundraising campaign for Ostomy Canada. So Ostomy Canada is an organization here that does a lot of education programs for people who are approaching living with an ostomy, who already have an ostomy. They also offer support groups across Canada and kind of just a ton of really good programs to help people living with an ostomy. And so I kind of wanted to give back to that. So I did the run as a fundraiser for them this year. And with their help, like they helped kind of put the message out there and stuff like that. Their national fundraising campaign is this coming weekend. And so we used mine as a springboard for that. I raised somehow brain is blown away by this, but we raised $18,000 for Ostomy Canada with my run this year. Like super humbling, super humbling. Just how generous people in the community are. It was so many individual donors. There was a couple of like bigger kind of lump sums, but like for the most part, that 18,000 was like $25, $50, $100 donations from just people that heard about the story and wanted to support. And it was pretty inspiring. Like honestly, like I just having that knowledge behind me. Like there was parts of the run where I was screaming in pain. Like my body was just like, stop. Like, what are you doing? And I had before the race written ostomy strong on my hands. And so I was just tunnel vision. I looked down at my hands and like I'm just like barely able to walk. And I'm just like, no, I've got this whole community lifting me up and pushing me forward. So I just keep going. And yeah, it was I don't think I mean, I think I could have done it, but I couldn't have done it as well without that kind of extra inspiration.
That's amazing. And I know there's always so much negativity in the news in the world. So it's always good to get that reminder that people are so good and so supportive and to show up like that and raise that type of money. It's an amazing achievement. You should be definitely really proud of that.
Yeah, it's like I said, like so humbled. Like it's, you know, it wasn't me that did it, it was the community, and that's kind of like what I would want any other fundraiser to kind of like I'm not, it's a feather in my cap for sure, but it was not me alone. Like sure, I put myself out there, but like people resonated with my story and people were like, "Hey, I've got a similar lived experience of ostomy. What you're doing is cool. How can I support it?" So it's yes, I put myself out there, but the community around it is just so giving. It's pretty phenomenal.
That's unbelievable. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about, is just, stepping forward and putting yourself out there to inspire others and share your story, and so that other people can say, oh yeah, these things are achievable, that, life with an ostomy goes on the same as all lives, So it's brilliant that you did that and give people the chance to see that happen. Fair play to you. My next question then, I suppose, Ostomy Canada, you were saying that they do programs to support people before they get an ostomy and while living with an ostomy. Sounds like they do really amazing work that kind of covers all bases. Do you do quite a bit of work with them?
I'm getting into doing more and more. So this year I spent most of the time just kind of helping or they were helping me and we are kind of helping each other with the fundraising side of things. So this year I'll be kind of stepping forward. Really the last 2 years, I would say their growth has been really big. So there's going to be a few more committees that I'll be able to be a part of and kind of help grow some more programs, and or if a program exists, kind of build that program up a little bit more. I haven't decided exactly where in that I fit in just yet, but whether it's the fundraising side of things, communications, or what have you. They also offer a really cool youth camp, which is in the summer. So they'll sponsor kids and bring them from all over Canada into, I think it's near Calgary. And so like youth living with an ostomy, just being able to connect with other people like themselves. And I didn't get to go to the camp this year, but I've talked to some other people like myself that kind of went and were counselors there, and they were so blown away. They were like, we learned so much more from these kids than I think they took from us. And so like the resilience of like the community is just constantly awe-inspiring.
It sounds every bit of it. Like that is such a beautiful initiative to create for people in that situation, because obviously you have a very deep understanding what it's like to be sick when you're young, and these kids are going through such a tough time, and to be able to go and meet other people going through it and discuss and see that, they can interact and learn from each other is an amazing thing, an amazing initiative to set up. You created ultras for ostomies and your blog Tales from the Bag. What inspired you to start sharing your story?
That's an interesting one. So after my surgery, I kept hearing from my family saying, "Oh, so and so is really inspired by you because like I had my surgery and gone back into snowboarding, and like I do a lot of backcountry snowboarding, so it's touring off into the, you know, res off resort, so you're like climbing up the mountain yourself and sliding down it, and I was just, getting back and living my life, and I just kept, over and over again hearing of my family and friends talk about how inspiring I was, and I was like, I'm not really that inspiring. Like, whatever. I'm living me. Who cares? Nobody wants to listen to me spout off about me. Is kind of how I thought about it, and I had a few conversations with a couple of my siblings, and it just kind of eventually dawned on me that I was being more selfish not sharing it than I was sharing it, if that makes sense. So I thought it was like I thought I'd be like too pompous if I was to share my story, and I didn't want that. So I kind of shied away from it for a while, and then eventually it was like, okay, like I've heard this enough times. How can I do it in a way that like I'm not showing off, essentially, which I don't think I've hit a balance. Like my Instagram account, like I don't really know how to message it yet, and I've been trying for years, and I'm super inconsistent with social media, but I just try to showcase that I'm living. I'm not showing off. I'm like, hey, I went out and did this. Like I haven't posted on my socials since the run in August because I've just been tired of social media. So I'm really bad at it. But I think also that's part of the draw is like, hey, this dude's just living his life. He's got an ostomy. He went snowboarding. Oh, he went, kiteboarding. Oh, he ran an ultra marathon. Like I'm trying to do it in a way that's not like a show off thing, but if I can help somebody else live their true self. So whether it's they're inspired to go put on a pair of running shoes and walk a kilometer or run 5K, run a marathon, whatever it is that they want to do. Join a knitting club. Like sometimes just getting out in public is terrifying after a surgery, or you've lived so much in isolation with Crohn's disease, getting back out there. So I think that's the big message is it's going to be okay. There are challenges. It's not all smooth sailing, but I think that was kind of what inspired me is just don't be cocky about it, but just hopefully somebody listens and goes, that's pretty cool. I think I can do that. Or that's pretty cool. If he can do that, I can do this other thing. And, what's cool for me is, you know, uh, not necessarily what's cool for you and what's cool for the next person in line, but like as long as we're all out there doing what it is we want or figuring out how to do what it is we want to do, I think that's pretty sweet.
Percent, I hear you, and I definitely think you've struck a good balance for you. Obviously, when it comes to posting on social media, we have to do what we're comfortable with, and there's no point in posting every day if it's not something that aligns with what you want to do. I know myself, my own experience, when someone like says to me, "Oh, you're so inspiring," I'm like, "Oh, no, no, I'm not. No, I'm not." You get really shy about it. Like, for me, you're definitely inspiring. Like, the fact that you went and did an ultra marathon with an ostomy bag, like, that is something that made me think, oh, like, this is something that is actually achievable and can do it with the right training and putting the right stuff in place. So that, and I've only recently come across your page. So you've been doing this for quite a while, and the work you've done with Ostomy Canada, like, I think you're definitely doing amazing work to show people what can be done and what like that life doesn't stop with an ostomy. And I think you're opening a lot of doors for people. So fair play to you.
Thank you. It's every time. it gets brought up, it's the only word I can come up with is humbling because I certainly don't see myself as an inspiration, but I'm happy that I can inspire others to pick something up.
Yeah. I hear you. I suppose we start seeing if you start looking in the mirror and saying, I'm inspirational, the ego has just taken over.
Yeah, yeah, I desperately don't want that. So if it does start to do that, can you just like send me a note, say, hey man, kick me down a peg or two. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's amazing work to do, and to put yourself out there is brilliant. Fair play to you. You've achieved so much athletically with an ostomy. What are the misconceptions about ostomies that people would think that you have proven are misconceptions?
I mean, I think a lot of people assume that when you get an ostomy, you really can't be active again. I think there's a lot of fear around. So when you have an ostomy, one of the biggest things nurses, doctors, other people with an ostomy said to me were, "Oh, watch out for a hernia." And I think a lot of people get a hernia because they get active too soon, or not active, that's the wrong word, but like they push themselves in a way um too soon. The other thing is some people are just more susceptible. So my strength coach also has an ostomy. She has a thinner abdominal wall, so she's more susceptible to them than I was, you know? So she was unlucky, whereas I was lucky. So she's still out active. She's a literal strength coach, and has a hernia, but like it's nothing that she did to have, she couldn't have done anything different. You know what I mean? So it's, yes, there's risks. There's risks in anything you do in life. Like probably the riskiest thing anybody does is drive a car, and we don't even think about it. Like half of us are texting, which we shouldn't do, you know, like so it's calculated risks, right? Like I'm gonna go snowboarding. I'm gonna go walk down the street. There, whatever it is you're gonna do, there's a risk associated with it. So with an ostomy, it's yeah, there's a risk. I could get a hernia, but what's the likelihood? And have I taken steps to avoid it? And then even if I get a hernia, okay, now I've got a hernia. What steps can I do to mitigate it getting worse? You know, so like I'm not letting the risk of a hernia hold me back. What are the complications, or what are the, you know, the things you need to deal with as somebody with an ostomy? Well, you got to change your bag every so often. Everybody's different. Like when I first got my ostomy, I was super lucky and I could change it once every 5 to 7 days. I was over the moon. Right now, I've got a couple skin irritations from overtraining and sweating under the bag, and so I'm pretty much changing daily. And I'm like, this sucks. But you know, you kind of take the punches as they come and you roll with it. You smile, you laugh. I think humor is an amazing way to deal with some of the more challenging parts. You know, there's certainly days you cry, but you know, you look back and you laugh again later because poop jokes are always funny. So, and you know, we've got a bag full of them. So
But there we go.
you're welcome. My old man humor is coming in.
But you're dead right. I suppose you have to live in the present moment, and you can obviously put the foundations in place in a preventative sense, whether that's wearing a stoma band or whatever you feel you need to do. But living in the present moment rather than living in a fear state of being, oh, I better not do that in case I get a hernia. You know, I myself have gotten a hernia. I got it last year. It was the first time I ever got one. I've had now my abdominal wall. I've had three major surgeries. So after the first, second one, no hernia issue. I did always wear a relatively thin band around it, but that was mainly just to keep things kind of neat. But after the surgery, I definitely noticed there. Obviously, it's so invasive, but I got the hernia. It's gone back in. I do core strength and things. There are ways to get yourself back. So yeah, not living in a fear state is the only way to live life. You know, the future will be what the future will be, and we can only tackle the moment. So great.
Yeah. And then that's it, right? Like you're like, okay, I got the hernia, but like you're doing preventative things now, and not to say you weren't doing them, but you had three major surgeries. Like there's some built-in weaknesses to the wall now. You know, like there's only so much you can do, you know. So, but you know, you're putting in the work, and that's the other thing. It is work, you know, like it's not, nothing comes easy per se, like, but you know, you can look at it and have fun anyway.
Absolutely. And just to talk on the future for a moment, you were on medications previously. You came off medications. Obviously, you got your ostomy. How has your health been since?
Since the ostomy, I have uh, in it like Crohn's free. Like I've been medication free since the ostomy surgery. That was one of the biggest kind of learnings or realizations I had. So like throughout the recovery from ostomy, like I remember once the pain meds kind of cleared out of my system, like I remember I just had a clear thought. Like I don't have this brain fog wrapped around me anymore. Like it was the first time in years I was like I can focus properly. I can do all these things. I'm like, "Oh, what's happening here? This is cool. I like this." Well, I kind of take it for granted now that I like don't have brain fog, and whereas like I lived with brain fog for I don't even know how many years. So yeah, post ostomy, the brain fog disappearing was probably the like the overarching. My health came back. I gained weight again. Now I'm like, oh, they gotta like hold that line. Like before, I could like max out at 180, and I was like, the disease would be like 180 was my top, and then when I got sick, I'd bump down to 130. Now I'm like, oh, I'm at 200, and it keeps wanting to go up, and like I gotta like work to keep it off now. So it's like, damn it, I lost my superpower.
I get you. When I first started keeping on weight, it was such a relief, and I was like, oh my god, I'm getting stronger in the gym. I'm liking where this is going. And next thing I was like, oh god, I need to start. I need to put down the fork for a little bit, or this is going to get out of hand.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different mindset. You're like, oh no, that's I'm not used to this one.
You did live in that area of safety where unfortunately you're sick and the weight just drops off you. But then when you get back to normal life, you can pound it on fairly quickly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like you're watching your diet in a different way now.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
how has diet been for you? Do you follow any particularly strict diet? Do you kind of eat everything? What works for you?
I eat pretty much everything. But when I was training, I was a lot more diligent with things. Training for the ultra, my dietitian, and I really should be doing this even now. So like eating every 3 hours just to kind of even out your energy levels throughout the day, which I kind of got away from. So I have to get back into the habit of that, just as like a daily habit of eating like once every 3 hours. So like meal, light snack, meal, light snack, meal, I would say is the big thing. But I can eat most things I want. So like high roughage foods are kind of my weakness still. So I avoid corn and peas and kale, things like that. But I eat all the other things that the doctors and nurses were like, no, no, you should probably not. I just with an ostomy, just chew more, and if you're worried about it, test out in small amounts and see how it goes. But yeah, like I eat spinach and leafy greens and stuff. I just make sure that I chew a lot. It's comes down to chewing. It's the first stage of digestion, which a lot of people in Western culture have forgotten about. It's inhale, inhale, inhale.
Such a fact. And I suppose we've YouTube in front of us or the TV is on and you're just scoffing down food. You're not actually consciously eating and telling your body, essentially that there's food coming. So I need you to get prepared for digestion. That's definitely good advice. It's to be very conscious about what you're eating. And as you said, take things in small amounts because, the mushrooms and corn can be quite problematic for some people and, test the waters gently.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because like like I love mushrooms. I eat a ton of them. And people look at me like I've got 7 heads. Like you eat mushrooms with an ostomy? What's wrong with you? Like, I don't know. It was funny. It was one of the first things my mom cooked for me was like a mushroom beef like crock pot stew thing out of hospital, and because we had taken that we were supposed to eat mushrooms coming out of the hospital. Then we like realized later that no, we were supposed to avoid them. But like I don't know, I did well with them right away, so it was lucky, I guess.
Thankfully, that could be a terrible bit of miscommunication.
Yeah, exactly. But it's I think everybody's unique. Everybody's a little bit different. So what works for me might not work for you, might not work for the other person. I think that's the other like big thing with my messaging that I try to get past to people is like, just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work. But I can still share my story. We can still share experiences and go, okay, this did work for me. Maybe you can take that. And if it doesn't, does part of it work for you? It's all just in any part of life, it's all trial and error. And you're going to take some parts of my story and use them for for you, and some parents are gonna go, that's just insane. Ultras are stupid. You shouldn't run them.
That's it. The great thing about sharing your lived experience and giving people a window into your life is that they can take what they need from it and they can test the waters and see, okay, can I incorporate this into my life and where will I go from here? But like as you said, it's very individual, and you have to be so careful to do the trial and error and figure out what works for you, and not to carbon copy what works for someone else, because one person can eat mushrooms and another person can't.
Exactly, exactly. And if you're not sure, try a few and chew them well.
Yeah, exactly. I think definitely you can save yourself a lot of problems with chewing food very consciously. I know my mother when I was a kid used to always tell me, you have to chew your food 32 times. And you'd be thinking, I'm going to be 4.5 eating this dinner. I have to hurry
Oh,
up.
I know. Like, and I think like chewing, like whether you have an ostomy or not, like we should be chewing as a culture more, anyways. It's a lost art chewing. So ostomy has really taught me well. I grew up with five siblings, so it was like eat or be eaten. And so it's like you had if it was a good like if we were having pizza or Chinese food, like you had to get in there and grab quick and like scarf it down so you could have seconds because it was gone fast. So yeah, I had to learn to chew.
The great thing about growing up with siblings is they think that, what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Like I had similar issues in my house of Chinese food and stuff. You go to the bathroom, come back, and you could be missing 3 or 4 chicken balls, and
Oh
no
yeah.
one's owning up to eating them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Put those under lock and key.
Now, this is brilliant. We've kind of covered pretty much everything I wanted to hit up. You have been an amazing guest. Is there anything in particular you would like to talk about?
I think we covered most of it. Like, got the run, got the charity, got my too many stories of my early childhood, and
Gold, all gold.
yeah.
I'll put links to the charity and everything in the description, and I'll make sure and draw. Is the fundraiser still open?
It is still open. Unfortunately, like international donations are difficult. So if people internationally want to donate, they can reach out to me. I've got like a pledge form you can sign. But alternatively, I'm sure you have some ostomy support links in the UK that may work. I'm sure your audience is predominantly over there right now. But yeah, if you did want to support Ostomy Canada, you can reach out to me on my Instagram at Tales from the Bag, and I can email you over a pledge form, and you can donate through that way. I think it costs a lot extra to um, run the platform for international currencies, and Ostomy Canada is still fairly small. Like, their national fundraiser campaign, they're aiming to raise $100,000. So they're pretty excited that my initial run got them up to just under $19,000 now. So pretty wild, pretty exciting. But yeah, if your audience is interested in donating and they are outside of Canada, just hit me up and I'll make it happen.
Brilliant. Just a final point, and I suppose just to recap on anything, is there any advice you'd like to share?
Just live your truth, whatever that is. I think to steal, I don't know who said that first, but we've said it a number of times today, what works for one doesn't work for all, but I think we can all take each other's stories and experiences and learn and grow from them and apply them to our lives in ways that make sense for each of us. We're all in this together and we're all individuals in this together. So I think having patience with ourselves and having patience with others is goes a really long way.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing your story and such great advice. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on.
That was episode 6 of the Survival Project. So a massive thank you to Alex for coming on and sharing his story. And wow, what an amazing feat to go and raise so much money for Ostomy Canada. It's an amazing achievement and just testimony to the goodness in people that so many people will come together and to raise such money for such a valuable cause. If you yourself are interested in donating, I'll add the relevant information in the description. If you like today's episode, obviously share it with your friends, like, subscribe, comment. These are all great things to help push it out in the algorithms. More eyes, more reach, and see where this can go. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And again, thank you so much to Alex for sharing the story. Next week's episode is going to be one of deep insight and self-exploration, and where we'll be diving into breathwork. Rona Bryan is a breathwork practitioner and has actually been just an amazing guide in my own journey with breathwork and improving my mental health. So Ronan offers amazing insight into tools that he uses and just his own experience of life, to guide and learn from. So that would be episode 7, and really looking forward to it. Thanks for joining in.